All right, so these are two ticket titles that we've got, and such a great question. We have appointments that start at 7:30. It's scheduled to send 2 hours prior. Will this go out at 7 or at 5:30? And how can we prevent it from going before 8? When I check what text will be sent, it shows that some will be sent at 6:30. How can I prevent this, right? Great questions. So let me show you the basics here. All right, so we come in to the office, edit the messaging config, and so the first thing to know is emails are sent around the clock. We don't, while texts we consider more invasive, we want to make sure that we're not sending a text at 2 o'clock in the morning. Emails, people receive those so often that trying to be considerate really isn't necessary in my mind, because just because we're not sending them doesn't mean that every other spammer in the world is going to be just as considerate. And so people have already figured out how to manage notifications for emails in the evening. So we're not going to worry about that. What this is concerned with is text messages and phone calls. All right. And so the way you want to set these message windows is as follows. Okay, when does your office open? Okay, it's from 8 a.m. and maybe you close at 5. All right, so 5 p.m. Great. And then, so we will send phone calls and text messages in between those two sets of hours. Now, if your first patient is scheduled at 8 a.m. and we want to send a 2-hour last-minute reminder, but we won't send anything before 8, then how do we do that? Okay, so that's where this last column is. All right, so here this says only for that one event. So only, you've got all these different things. Only for the things in this category are we willing to override the schedule. And so at that point, we're willing to send it up to 30 minutes early. So we're not going to schedule it or send anything before 7:30 a.m. for this practice. Now, maybe you live in rural Wisconsin or something, and it takes people longer than 30 minutes to drive. But no problem. Give them 50 minutes. But just recognize that's people will start getting things at 7:10, and so your 9 o'clock appointment will get it. Well, they'd get it at 8, but their 8:30 appointment would get it at 7:40. And so anyway, you can configure the message windows here to accommodate all of that. So the second question ties into the first, and that's why I'm going to do those two together. And that is when we look at the queue, it said there is a scheduled send time here. And I'm sorry, I don't have anything in the queue currently to show. But if it says 6:30, that doesn't mean that it actually will go out at 6:30. What's going to happen is at 6:30, it's going to look at that message and say, hey, I've got a message to send. Should I send it? And in order for it to decide whether it should send it, it's going to come here and say, nope, not ready to send it yet. And it'll come back in 5 minutes at 6:35, 40, and so on. And then eventually when it gets to 7:10 with 50 minutes early, then that message would go out. And so that's how you can control early morning notifications for your patients. It's an important topic because you do want to make sure those early morning people get notified, but you also don't want to be waking people up just to tell them happy birthday. So I hope you have a great day.